Listen carefully, because this one is going to hit you where it hurts. Your dreams, they're not dying because you're not talented. They're not dying because you don't have opportunities. They're dying quietly every single day while your thumb keeps scrolling. You wake up with potential, but you go to sleep with excuses. Every time you pick up that phone just to check something, you're making a decision. Not a small one, a life-altering one. Because while you're watching somebody else live their dream, you're postponing yours. Let me tell you something real. Nobody is coming to save you. That motivation you're waiting for, it's not coming. That perfect moment, it doesn't exist. That one day you keep talking about, it's a lie you keep telling yourself to stay comfortable. And comfort is the most dangerous place you can live. You think you've got time. You think you'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into next week turns into next year. And one day you wake up and realize your dream didn't fail. While you were scrolling, somebody else was building. While you were watching, somebody else was working. While you were distracted, somebody else was becoming who you said you wanted to be. That should bother you, because deep down, you know exactly what you're capable of. You feel it. That fire, that voice inside you that says, you're meant for more. But every time you ignore it, every time you choose comfort over discipline, that voice gets weaker. And one day, if you're not careful, it disappears. Now, here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Success is not about motivation. It's about decision. You've got to decide that your future matters more than your distractions. You've got to decide that your goals are more important than your comfort. You've got to decide that your life is worth the effort. Put the phone down, turn the noise off, get uncomfortable, because greatness doesn't come from scrolling, it comes from sacrifice. Every minute you waste is a minute you'll never get back. Every excuse you make builds the life you don't want. So ask yourself right now, are you going to keep watching, or are you finally going to start living? Because your dreams are watching you too, and right now, they're slipping away. It's time to wake up. You don't even notice it at first. It starts small, just a quick check. One notification, one video, one scroll. You tell yourself it's nothing. You tell yourself you deserve a break. But what you don't realize is this: every time you do that, you're slowly giving away pieces of your future. Not in big, dramatic moments, but in quiet, invisible ones that add up over time. That phone in your hand feels harmless, but it's one of the most powerful distractions ever created. It doesn't force you to quit your dreams. It just keeps you busy enough to forget about them. That's the danger. You're not failing loudly. You're drifting silently. Minutes turn into hours, hours turn into days, and before you know it, weeks have passed and nothing in your life has moved forward. You keep saying you don't have time, but look closer. The time is there. You're just spending it in places that give you nothing back. Scrolling gives you the illusion of progress. You see people winning, building, achieving, and for a moment it feels like you're part of it. But you're not. You're watching life, not living it. And here's the truth that hits hard. Every second you spend consuming someone else's life is a second you're not building your own. That dream you keep talking about, it needs time. It needs focus. It needs effort. But you're feeding your attention into things that don't grow you, don't challenge you, and don't move you forward. What makes it worse is how easy it is. There's no resistance, no struggle, just endless content designed to keep you hooked. And the more you give in, the harder it becomes to break away. Your focus gets weaker. Your discipline fades. And suddenly, doing the work that actually matters feels heavy, uncomfortable, even impossible. But understand this: your future is being shaped by what you do daily, not what you plan occasionally. And right now, those small, repeated moments of distraction are building a life you don't want. Not because you're incapable, but because you're unavailable to your own goals. You don't need more time. You need control. Control over your attention. Control over your habits. Because once you take that back, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your focus sharpens. And the same time you used to waste becomes the time that builds something real. So the next time your hand reaches for that phone without purpose, pause. Ask yourself, is this moving me forward or holding me back? Because the answer to that question, repeated every day, is what decides whether your dreams survive or slowly disappear. You keep telling yourself a story that sounds reasonable, but it's costing you everything. I'll start tomorrow. I'm not ready yet. I need more time. Those words feel harmless, but they're not. They are excuses dressed up as logic, and every time you say them, you push your potential further away from reality. Let's be honest. You already know what you should be doing. The problem isn't confusion. The problem is hesitation. You're waiting to feel motivated, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting until it feels easier. But life doesn't reward waiting. It rewards action. And every time you choose delay over discipline, you're training yourself to stay stuck. Excuses don't just slow you down, they reshape how you see yourself. The more you avoid doing what matters, the more you start believing you're not capable of it. Your confidence doesn't disappear overnight. It fades with every promise you break to yourself. You say you'll wake up early, you don't. You say you'll start working, you don't. And slowly your words lose value even to you. That's dangerous, because once you stop trusting yourself, everything becomes harder. Taking action feels heavier. Starting feels impossible. And deep down, you begin to question whether you even have what it takes. But the truth is, you haven't lost your ability. You've just built a habit of not using it. Here's the reality most people avoid. Excuses are comfortable because they remove responsibility. If it's always not the right time, then you never have to face the challenge. If you're not ready, then you never have to risk failing. But that comfort comes at a cost. It keeps you safe and stuck. Meanwhile, someone else is out there with less talent, fewer resources, and more fear than you, and they're still moving forward. Not because they're better, but because they're not negotiating with their excuses. They feel the same doubt. They face the same struggles. The difference is they act anyway. Every excuse you make is a decision to stay where you are, a decision to delay growth, a decision to let your potential sit unused. And over time, those decisions create a gap between who you are and who you could have been. You don't need a new plan. You don't need more information. You need honesty, brutal honesty with yourself. Stop pretending you don't have time. Stop pretending you don't know what to do. The truth is, you're choosing not to do it. And once you accept that, everything changes. Because if it's your choice to stay stuck, it's also your choice to move forward. So stop negotiating with yourself. Stop waiting for motivation. Start proving through action that your goals actually matter. Because the moment you cut off your excuses is the moment your real potential finally gets a chance to show up. You think comfort is a reward. It feels safe, it feels easy, it feels like you've earned the right to relax. But comfort has a hidden cost, and most people don't see it until it's too late. The longer you stay in it, the weaker your drive becomes. The more you choose easy, the harder everything else starts to feel. Comfort doesn't destroy you overnight. It softens you slowly. It convinces you that where you are is good enough. It tells you to take it easy, to avoid stress, to stay where things are predictable. And while you're sitting there feeling safe, your ambition is fading. That fire you once had, it doesn't disappear. It just gets buried under convenience. The problem is, nothing grows in comfort. Not your mindset, not your skills, not your future. Growth requires pressure. It requires effort. It requires stepping into situations where you don't feel ready, where you don't feel confident, where you might even fail. That's where transformation happens. But comfort keeps pulling you in the opposite direction. You start choosing what's easy instead of what's necessary. You avoid challenges because they feel uncomfortable. You delay important work because it requires focus, You stick to routines that don't push you because they don't demand anything from you. And over time, your life becomes predictable, but not in a good way. It becomes limited. Look around. Everything you want is on the other side of discomfort. That better life, that success, that version of yourself you keep imagining, it's not built in easy moments. It's built in the hard ones. Early mornings when you don't feel like getting up. Long hours when you'd rather quit. Tough decisions when you'd rather stay where you are. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your signal that you're moving forward. It's proof that you're stepping outside the version of yourself that's been holding you back. Every time you feel resistance, that's the moment that matters most. That's where most people stop and where a few decide to keep going. But if you keep choosing comfort, you're choosing to stay the same. You're choosing to repeat the same days, the same habits, the same results. And one day, that comfort turns into regret because you realize you had the chance to push yourself, to grow, to change your life, but you didn't take it. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to stop running from what's hard. Lean into it. Embrace the struggle. Get used to doing things that challenge you. Because the more you face discomfort, the stronger you become. Your discipline sharpens. Your confidence builds. And suddenly, things that once felt impossible start to feel normal. Comfort will keep you where you are. Discomfort will take you where you want to go. The choice is yours. But understand this clearly. You can't have both. Right now, while you're sitting there thinking about what you should be doing, somebody else is already doing it. They're not smarter than you. They're not more talented than you. They just made a decision you haven't made yet. They chose action over hesitation. That's the gap. And that gap is growing every single day. You scroll through your feed and you see people winning, launching businesses, building skills, getting in shape, chasing goals. It looks impressive, maybe even intimidating. But what you don't see is the part that matters most. The early mornings when nobody was watching. The late nights when they were tired but kept going anyway. The discipline, the sacrifice, the consistency, that's where the real difference is made. While you're consuming their results, they're still producing more. And every moment you spend watching is a moment they spend working. That's why they keep moving ahead. Not because they got lucky, but because they refuse to stay still. Here's what hurts. Deep down, you know you could be doing the same thing. You know you have ideas. You know you have the ability. But instead of acting on it, you keep observing. You keep waiting. You keep telling yourself you'll start when the time feels right. They didn't wait. They started before they felt ready. They started when it was messy, when it was uncomfortable, when it was uncertain. And because they started, they learned. Because they learned, they improved. And because they improved, they got results. That's the cycle you're missing out on. You can't build anything by just watching. You can't grow by staying on the sidelines. Every skill, every success, every achievement requires repetition, failure, adjustment. And you're skipping all of that by staying in observer mode. Let's be real. It's easier to watch than to work. Watching doesn't demand anything from you. It doesn't challenge you. It doesn't expose your weaknesses. But working, that requires effort. It requires focus. It forces you to confront where you're lacking. And that's exactly why most people avoid it. But the ones who don't avoid it, they win. They show up when it's inconvenient. They keep going when it's hard. They stay consistent when nobody is cheering for them. And over time, that consistency creates a gap that becomes impossible to ignore. So when you look at someone else's success, don't just admire it, understand it. That result you're seeing is built on thousands of decisions they made to show up instead of scroll, to work instead of watch, to act instead of wait. And right now, you're making decisions too. Every day, every hour, every moment, you're either closing that gap or widening it. The truth is simple and uncomfortable at the same time. If you don't start moving, you will always be watching someone else live the life you said you wanted, So the question isn't whether it's possible for you. It is. The real question is, how much longer are you going to sit there and watch while someone else becomes who you were meant to be? Most people think dreams die in one big moment, some dramatic failure, one major setback, one final loss, but that's not how it really happens. Dreams don't usually die in a loud, obvious way. They fade quietly, through neglect, through delay, through the small repeated choice to not show up. It starts with good intentions. You tell yourself you're going to begin, you plan it out in your head, you even feel excited about it. But then life gets in the way, or at least that's what you tell yourself. You get busy, distracted, tired. You say, I'll do it tomorrow, and that feels harmless because it's just one day. But it's never just one day. That one day turns into a pattern. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month. And slowly, without realizing it, you create distance between you and your dream. Not because you failed, but because you stopped engaging with it. That's the real danger. When you stop showing up, even in small ways, your connection to that dream starts to weaken. The excitement fades. The urgency disappears. What once felt important starts to feel optional. And once something becomes optional, it becomes easy to ignore. You don't lose your dream all at once. You lose it in pieces. Every time you choose distraction over discipline, that's a piece gone. Every time you delay instead of act, that's another piece gone. Every time you ignore that inner voice telling you to move, to start, to try, that's another piece slipping away. And here's the part that hits the hardest. You still talk about it. You still say, I want that life. You still imagine what it could be, but your actions no longer match your words. And over time, that gap creates frustration, doubt, even regret. Because deep down, you know the truth. You didn't lose your dream. You slowly let it go. The world doesn't take your dreams away. It doesn't block you or stop you. Most of the time, it simply waits. It gives you the freedom to choose. And if you keep choosing everything except your dream, eventually it stops chasing you back. That fire you once felt, it goes quiet. That belief you had, it weakens, and one day you wake up and realize you're no longer pursuing it. You're just remembering it. That's what neglect does. But here's the turning point. If neglect can kill a dream, then consistent attention can revive it. It doesn't require a massive move. It requires daily commitment, showing up when you don't feel like it, taking small steps even when progress feels slow, reconnecting with that goal every single day until it becomes real again. Because dreams don't need perfection. They need presence. The moment you start giving your time, your energy, your focus back to what matters, that dream starts breathing again. So don't wait for a perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start now. Start small if you have to, but start. Because the longer you ignore what matters, the easier it becomes to live without it. You keep waiting to feel motivated. Like one day you're going to wake up with this unstoppable energy that finally pushes you to act. But that's not how it works. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Some days you feel it, most days you don't. If you build your life around how you feel, you'll stay stuck in the same place, repeating the same cycle. Everything changes the moment you make a real decision. Not a week I'll try. Not a temporary burst of excitement. A firm, clear, non-negotiable decision. The kind where you cut off every other option. The kind where you stop asking yourself if you're going to do it and start focusing on how you're going to make it happen. That's where power comes from. A true decision creates clarity. It eliminates hesitation. When you've decided, you don't waste time debating. You don't sit there arguing with yourself. You move, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't feel like it, because now it's not about mood. It's about commitment. Right now, you're stuck in the middle. You want change, but you haven't fully committed to it. So you go back and forth. One day you're focused, the next day you're distracted. One moment you're serious, the next moment you're scrolling. That inconsistency is coming from a lack of decision, Once you decide, that back and forth stops. You draw a line. You say, this is who I'm becoming no matter what. And from that point on, your actions start aligning with that identity. You don't skip the work because you don't feel like it. You don't quit because it's hard. You don't delay because it's inconvenient. You show up because you decided this matters. And understand this, every successful person you look at made that decision at some point. Not when it was easy, not when everything was perfect. They decided when it was messy, when it was uncertain, when they didn't have all the answers. They didn't wait, they committed. That's why they're ahead. Decision is the starting point of discipline. Once you decide, you create standards for yourself. You stop tolerating behaviors that don't align with your goals. You stop wasting time on things that don't move you forward. You start protecting your focus, your energy, your time, because now you know exactly what you're working toward. It's not complicated, but it's not easy either. Because a real decision requires you to let go of your excuses. It forces you to take responsibility. It demands consistency. And most people aren't willing to go that far, but if you are, everything changes. Your mindset shifts. Your habits change. Your results follow. So stop waiting for the perfect feeling. Stop hoping for motivation to show up and carry you. It won't make the decision. Decide that your future is non-negotiable. Decide that your goals are worth the effort. Decide that no matter how you feel, you're going to show up and do the work, because at the end of the day, your life isn't shaped by what you want. It's shaped by what you decide and what you do after that decision is made.